In the middle of the Heartsutra, there's that Heartsutra mantra, Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisoha. We will say that mantra together several times. We'll say that mantra together several times. Mainly we'll use that reciting the mantra once again to bring our minds back to this place with this body and to raise awareness, just simply focusing on the sound of the mantra. But if there are people who know the meaning of the mantra, for those people, then of course it will be good not just to raise the awareness, using the sound of the mantra, but also raise the awareness of the meaning of the mantra. So we'll say this mantra several times together. First, just to listen my reciting. I'll recite this mantra 3 times, Heartsutra mantra. Have you got it? That's the middle of the Heartsutra which you recited earlier. Gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisoha. First I will say 3 times. Then 4th time you can join with me. But this is not compulsory. Joining the mantra is not compulsory. The main point is use the sound of the mantra to bring our minds back to the place, back to this place, back to this body, then to raise the awareness. So that is the point. Then of course, if people who are able to think further than that, further than just raising the awareness, such as bringing the meaning of the mantra, then you can do that. But our main, the purpose of using the mantra is to raise the awareness. So first let me say 3 times the mantra. Oh, yeah, thank you. So before I continue to explain the subject on the text, there's some nice incidents. This morning when we start the class, I've been thinking about whether I should, say the Heartsutra in Tibetan, because I have received many times from many great teachers like His Holiness Dali Lama and his two great tutors and many other teachers. I received this oral transmission and also some explanation. So I've been thinking about this morning I should say the Heartsutra in Tibetan or not. And some nice incidents during the break. Andrea brought me a few Tibetan texts. She wanted to sort it out, what are there. So in that text, there's one Geshe gave to her, one text, which this text is Heartsutra and some other, which called the text. So I thought that is the sign to say that. So I'm going to read Heartsutra in Tibetan. Jagar do Pava de Pama Panya Para Meda Fridaya Toge do Chumden de Ma Shirdi Paro do Chimbeni Bodinga Toba to Chumden Yoga Java Bombe La Lungi Juna Chanju Sembe Juna Tashi do Shote Chumden de Sonaji Chuye Namdan Jedin Nimushoyan de Junto Sonja Papa Chere Sion Ju Shaji Paro do Chimba Sama Chubacha Chuba Nila no Jepon Dana Rashi Tomba Naba Dawa Tene Sanji Wanjula de Gage Meso Radio Bogama Shara Jekoto Chimba Same Chepa Chuban Deva de Chitala Barcha. The Gage Madan Chanju Samba Sonja Bawa Jen is one Juki Sadan Demba Shari Dade Puna de Gemeso Shapori Bogama Lashi Paro Chimba Same Java Java Dubane de Dana Dawa Jane Pon Dana Rashi Yedona Yanda Wajo Tao Sotomo Tony Soso Soya Tony Shamai. 东巴尼来讲，所以门弄对线都说到对线那对了，那么讲那东巴小瑞部太大学的多年青年来把我们就把我什么那着，这我讲我买把我小瑞部太大那多年送买错外面对面那把些外面那面前面对面也没送买。 大面对面若面里这面都没见他们的一见，他们一见那么些白公鸡把他买到马里把买个时候那个些。 Geshe Zebe Bada Medo Dejendo Domo Kunjo Wada Godana Mejo Toba Medo Shere Bodana Chanjo Sambana Toba Mebe Chiri Paro do Chima Dene Sembla Jiba Meji Taba Mede Shinji Lone Shune Nyane de Beta Shendo de Zondo no Sanje Tamje Jan Sherji Paro do Chima Dene Lana Meba Yanda Bazobe Chanjo Domo Sanje So Tadarana Sherji Paro do Chimbe Ma Riba Chimbe Mala 동네 탐제라도 쇼시가마 메제바나 쇼시 셔럽지 바로도 지명아 메바 따야 타 가데 빠르가데 바라 삼가데 보데 소하셔고 전주 삼마소녀 파와체네 송조 셔럽지 바로도 쳔마 소마 라바르 자오 데네 좀데네 띵지 데레 셴데 쇼소 소녀 파와체네 송조바 렉소 셰자와지네 렉소 리기보데 데제네 리기보데 데신데 제대로 규제된 바데노 셔럽지 바로도 쳔마 소마 제발자데 티신 셔관 남견 제소 이랑모 좀데데 데제 가전에 차단 대마 샤레 다데 보단 셔소 선바쳔모 파와체네 송조다 탐체단데 나고데 타다 메단 라마예단 제서 제벤지데 이랑네 좀데데 송바라 모바라데도 Oh yeah, that's the Herzsutra in Tibet. Oh yeah. Now, we are dealing with the title of the Herzsutra, the heart of the perfection of wisdom sutra. Now we briefly look at the sutra. Maybe good to say a little bit on that still, on the sutra. Now the sutra, those teachings attributed to the Buddha, as you know, they are what's called in a three. They are put into three categories or three groups. Technically, they are called into three baskets. According to their subjects. So the teaching, the sutras, where they teach how to cultivate concentration. Those sutras put into the basket called the basket of concentration. So that's one group. And the second group, the teachings, the sutras which teach how to cultivate what's called ethics. And they are in the basket of ethics. Then the basket of ethics. Then the last group, the sutras where they teach how to cultivate wisdom. And those sutras are put in the basket called Ngobeten, and the basket of knowledge. So entire Buddhist, according to Tibetan Buddhism, those 108 volumes put into these three baskets, according to the subjects. In Sanskrit, they are called Tripitaka. Tri means three. Taka is the basket. In Tibetan called Denu Sum. De means actually, what's called literally it means division. No means the container, basket. Denu Sum. It is very nice to see in that way. Now, this sutra, all that earlier mentioned, the most extensive Panchaparamita Sutra, middling and short, and this kind of sutra belongs to the third basket, the basket of knowledge, the Ngobeten. That's the one way to look at the Buddha's teachings. Another way to look at the Buddha's teachings, those sutras are into another two categories called traditionally they are called, the Hinayana Sutras and the Mahayana Sutras. Hinayana Sutras, or these days they call the Theravada Sutras, which are mainly in the Pali language. The Hinayana Sutras are mainly in the Pali language. They are also in the Sanskrit language, but mainly in the Pali language. Mahayana Sutras are all in a Sanskrit language, not very much in Pali language. In terms of the earlier, the language, of course, then later in Chinese, Japanese, Tibetan, and so on and so forth. In the earlier time, they are in either Pali and the Sanskrit. Now, the sutra which we are going to use belongs to the Mahayana Sutra, and in terms of the ancient language, comes from Sanskrit source, not the Pali language, Sanskrit source. And that is something quite useful to know. That doesn't mean there's a big contradiction. Also it doesn't mean they are all same. There are differences. Therefore it is good to know the differences, where they are coming from. Now, many of the Mahayana Sutras, from the academics' point of view, from the modern academics' point of view, to their eyes, they are come into being, come into existence as a sutra, as the teachings of the Buddha around the first century, what's called the AD, around that time, maybe a little bit earlier than that, first century AD, after death of Christ. So that means almost 500 years after Buddha passed away. Particularly these Panchaparamita Sutras. Panchaparamita Sutras are, come into being as taught by Buddha as a scriptures. It seems from the academics' point of view, it comes around that time. And again, from the modern, those scholars' academics' point of view, these Panchaparamita Sutras, which are put into three most extensive, middling, and short, and the Heart-Sutra, and so on and so forth, how they, started around the first century, AD, or Common Era, then slowly expanded. It went, for example, Heart-Sutra, there's a little bit disagreement between the scholars, but they all say roughly between 3rd century AD and 5th century AD. After Common Era, AD I'm talking about, the 3rd century, 3rd and 5th century the AD, or the Common Era. So there are these sort of things. Now, this is important. There's no doubt, even those sutras which much earlier than, from the academic, the eyes, from their eyes, sutras which are much earlier than these Panchaparamita Sutras, like the Four Noble Truths, like the what's called the Four Foundation of Mindfulness, what they call them. Sorry? No, there's another Pali term. Sorry? Yeah, Satipatthana Sutras, Four Foundation of Mindfulness, called Satipatthana Sutra, and also the Four Noble Truths, which are really from really earlier, much earlier than these Panchaparamita Sutras, which come into being. Even those sutras are not sort of put together as a Buddhist teachings during the Buddhist time. After Buddha passed away, the first Buddhist council was, I think, around 23 years after Buddha passed away. I can't remember exactly. My history is non-existent. Completely rubbish. And particularly when I talk about the time, I completely get lost. So therefore, but not these sutras, even these earlier sutras are not put together as when Buddha was teaching, much later. After Buddha passed away, then they have a council, meeting, then they start to put together. So there are these things, something which you need to bear in mind. Helpful to bear in mind these things. Nevertheless, the sutra that we are going to read, the Heart-Sutra, whether Buddha taught that or not, this is not my argument. I will not argue that. I'm not positioned to argue that because I'm not scholar in the academic point of view. But if you look at it from the subject point of view, then there's no doubt this Panchaparamita Sutras or group of Panchaparamita Sutra and particularly Heart Sutra, no doubt this group of sutras deal with the extremely important subject that Buddha taught. Do you remember? Out of 4, third one, selflessness, anattama. There's no doubt for that. The Panchaparamita Sutras are definitely dealing with that subject. And that subject is one of the core Buddhist teachings. So in that sense, very, very important. Very, very important. Okay? Now, here the term is used, heart. Heart of the perfection of wisdom, sutra. Now, heart. I think it might be literal translation. The heart in Tibetan is called Ningpo. Ningpo means essence. Essence. Or the essence. You can say the essence of the perfection of wisdom sutra. Because this sutra, this Heart Sutra, really captures in a almost two sentence. In a 2 sentence, it captures the essence of the perfection of wisdom sutra. The sutras, the longest version has 100,000 verses, but that meaning of that 100,000 verses captures in this sutra in 2 lines, 2 sentences. Therefore, you can say it is the essence. It captures the essence of the Panchaparamita Sutra. So here the term is used, heart. You can say also heart, the heart of the perfection of wisdom sutra. It is heart. Also, these days, the modern, our understanding, because of the technology, because of the knowledge, everything, we say brain is more important in our body. But in the ancient time, most important is heart. Isn't it? In our body, most important organ or thing is the heart. But nowadays, we understand it's brain. We can say a brain of the perfection of wisdom sutra. So also it captures heart, not in the connotation of the essence, heart in the sense of all the Buddhist teachings. The Buddha taught according to Tibetan Buddhism, the 108 volumes. All those 108 volumes of the Buddhist teachings, if we sort of pointed out which is the most important subject on emptiness. And that's in this body there are many organs. Which is the most important organs? Heart. Now you can say brain, but the heart. So therefore, you can look at it that way too. Because, for example, this great Indian master, as you know, Shantideva, and he wrote many important texts. Out of those many important texts, one important text which many of you have, I'm sure, have studied, received teachings, and put into practice, is the guide to the Bodhisattva way of life, Bodhisattva Avatara. In that text, also deals with this subject, emptiness, in the 9th chapter. And when he opened that 9th chapter, the first verse is this: Yangla tamje tube sherab song. Exactly the meaning what I'm talking about as a heart. Yangla tamje tube sherab song. Yangla means branch. Tamje means all these branches of the Buddha's teachings. Branches means all these different kinds of Buddhist teachings, types of Buddhist teachings. Yangla dida tamje ni tube. Tuba means Buddha. Tuba means money. Tuba means money. Om money. That Buddha. In other words, another way to refer to the Buddha means Tuba in Tibetan. That means money. Tube, by Buddha, Sherab Tendosong. All these different branches of the types of the teachings that Buddha taught for the reason, the reason is to have the wisdom, the understanding of emptiness. For that purpose, all these different teachings are taught by the Buddha in order to gain the perfection of wisdom. And that is here, again, that captures, isn't it? So this sutra is like the heart of in our body. All the different part of the organs and the limbs and so on and so forth to function properly. It is the heart. So like that, it isn't. So there's a heart of the heart. So there are different interpretations why the term heart is used. Now the perfection of wisdom. Perfection of wisdom. Now this perfection. First we look at perfection. What is that? Perfection. Yeah. Perfection. Perfection in the sense of in the two ways. Perfection. In the two ways we can look at what is the meaning of perfection in here. Perfection. Perfection in the sense of fully cultivated, fully developed. Fully cultivated wisdom. And in that way, this perfection of wisdom refers to the Buddha's or the Buddha's wisdom. When you say perfection of wisdom, that perfection in the context of fully, completely cultivated. In that case, this perfection of wisdom, that perfection of wisdom refers to the Buddha's wisdom. But another way of understanding this term perfection of wisdom in the sense of to make our minds, our imperfect mind, to make that mind perfect mind, to transform into perfect. In that way also we can say perfection of wisdom. So perfection of wisdom can be looked at in a two contexts. The first context, perfection of wisdom, in the sense of that although our present mind is not perfection of wisdom, not fully or completely cultivated wisdom, but like the Buddha's wisdom, which is fully cultivated, fully developed, perfection, and that's called perfection of wisdom. In other words, sometimes what we call, this nice, the Tibetan term is this, parol to chimba. Parol to chimba. Parol means on the other side. Say there's a river, there's an ocean, and you are on this side. And when you're looking from this side, in Tibetan, if you say paro, that means over the other side or other shore. Paro. Chimba means gone on the other shore. That means that that person who's already arrived on the other shore. And what is that other shore? What is that other side? Is enlightenment. On what is over this side? Samsara. So perfection of wisdom, first thing refers to the wisdoms which beings who are already arrived on the other shore. That's perfection of wisdom. But beings who are still on this shore, on this side, like you and me, on this side, their mind trying to cultivate wisdom, understanding emptiness. And that wisdom, understanding emptiness, what that will do, that wisdom, understanding will take us to the other shore. And that is also called perfection of wisdom. So in Tibetan it says, parol to chimba, parol to chinje. Parol to chimba means already arrived on the other shore. Parol to chinje means the means or the methods to take us to the other shore. Parol to chinje. That is here perfection of wisdom. So what we need at the moment is, what we need at the present is, of course our long-term aim is, the first one, perfection of wisdom, which is already arrived on the other side. At the moment we haven't. So what we need is the second one, perfection of wisdom, which help us to reach on the other shore. So when we talk about sixth perfection, do you remember sixth perfection? That sixth perfection also have a look at it like exactly what I'm talking about now. Perfection in a different context. So perfection. Now here I want to talk briefly on the culture issue. For the Westerners, somehow I feel I'm lucky. I don't have that, the culture. I don't, whatever, lucky or unlucky, I don't know. I don't have this culture or this, I don't know, in the West. Not all, but you have this tendency, you have this culture, want to make everything perfect. Then you start to get stress. I'm not getting perfect. Don't do that. Very, very important. Although we are talking about to cultivate perfection wisdom. Yes, we are talking about at the present we are imperfect, and cultivating this kind of wisdom will make us perfect. But don't use this very rigid, sort of very rigid and very, I don't know. You have many, many good cultures. No doubt. I have learned so many good things being in the West. I'm not just what in English you have an expression saying, I'm not saying lipstick. This is not from heart. There are so many good things I've learned over these 16, 17 years being in the West. But also I've seen there are so many, particularly in the mental culture, there are so many, difficulties. We all have, East, West, wherever you're born. But some of the difficulties are unique to the Westerners. And this is one. And I was told that comes more German speakers. It is true. One time I was when I was in that shows very clearly when I was in Nalanda, early time, my time in Europe. I spent almost 3 years in Nalanda, and those days, the majority, there were about 25 to 30 monks. Majority of the monks were English speaker, mainly from America, from Germany, from Holland, from England, from Australia. But there are small Italian, Spanish, but not many, only one or two French. So, me coming from big monasteries, living in a big 1,000 monks, and going to the small monasteries, and all the monks, except Khenzo Champa Tekchok, he was that time, the resident teacher, I was his assistant, and coming from the big monasteries and almost living in the same culture, but going into the new monastery, very small groups of monks, then all the small group, but they all come from different cultures, different, all are Westerners, but they have a different observation that was very helpful. How the Americans act, how the German and particularly the Western Europe monks, how they act, but also the Spanish and Italian, how they spend their time, very, very interesting. And soon I learned, if you really want to do something immediately and as perfect as possible, give that job to the German speaker. But you have to make sure they will take it that. They will take it that. But if they take it, they will do it. They will end it there. But if you give it that job to others, then you're not sure. Even if they take it, not sure when you're going to get the result. So that's the idea. Perfection. And also this, you have this, around 18th, 19th century, this revolution, enlightenment. These coming together, culturally, mentally, coming together. When you hear these terms, attaining enlightenment, and saying perfection of wisdom, don't take it very rigidly. Yes, we are talking about to make our minds, perfect, free from the obstacles, free from the misunderstandings. But we are talking about that project is at least, if you believe life after death, then for many lives projects. Even if you don't believe, there's life after death, we are talking about one lifetime's projects, not 1 week, not 1 month, not 1 year, not 1 decade, until death comes. So don't take it very rigidly. If you take it very rigidly, you will fail. You will fail because perfection of wisdom will not grow within ourselves overnight, a year, a decade. It will take time. So that's something culturally I thought is important to know. Now, the Sanskrit term here says Arya Bhagavati. Arya Bhagavati Panchaparamita Hridaya Sutra. So Arya in Sanskrit, you have that Sanskrit in German, no?
Yes, we have it at the end, page 80.
Okay. Just briefly say that, and we'll move on. In here is in the beginning.
Yeah, it's the end. It said it's ending this Arya.
Okay. Arya Bhagavati. Arya Bhagavati. Arya literally it means superior. But again, this word is very misleading. Superior. Immediately give us, there's some inferior. Not entirely. Superior in the sense of the realization. The realization, understanding is, superior. Not as a living being, you and me, not in that way. As a living being, nobody is superior than others. We are equal. But in the realization, then we have different, the realizations. Even in the kindergarten, children shows different abilities. Learning, studying, some are good at art, some are good at playing, some are good at different. So they are different. So this Arya refers to, in this case, Arya can be refers to many different great beings. In this case, Arya refers to the Buddha. But generally, Arya refers to the beings who have direct realization of emptiness. Arya. This term generally refers to the beings who have direct realization of emptiness. Those beings are called Arya, but in this case, Arya refers to the Buddha. Now here the Buddha, in this case Buddha, the term is used Bhagavati. Bhagavati. Some of you may know this. Bhagwan. Do you know that term? Bhagwan. It is very common. Not just Buddhism, but also Hinduism they use. Jainism they use. Sikhism, Sikh they use. Almost all the ancient Indian spiritual traditions, they use this term, Bhagwan. Bhagwan. But here the term is used Bhagavati. This is the Sanskrit term, Bhagavati. Like in French. In Sanskrit, there is in language, there's this feminine, masculine, and the natural, neutral. Like in the French, la, lu, and like that, to different shade. Well, the table is la, lu, chair might be different. That confused me a lot when I was studying French. What's the reason behind that? Table is masculine and the chair is feminine. What's the difference? But anyway, there's no logic explanation. But in Sanskrit language also have that kind of the masculine and feminine. So in this case, instead of saying Bhagwan, it says Bhagavati. That's the feminine side of the Bhagwan, Bhagavati. So the Bhagwan or the Chom Den in Tibetan. Chom Den. There are two words in Tibetan. Chom Den. Chom literally means destroy. Chom means destroy. Destroy. Den means possess, habit. So something is destroyed, something is habit. What is destroyed? Ignorance is destroyed. What is habit? Wisdom is habit. So the Bhagavati in Tibetan, in Sanskrit, or in the feminine case, Bhagavati, or in the masculine, Bhagwan, that means the destroyer and the possessor. What is destroyed? Ignorance is destroyed. What is possessed? Wisdom is possessed. So the Bhagavati, that means refers to a feminine. So Chom Den De, Chom Den Ma. In Tibetan, feminine, the word to express Ma. De Ma. So why here the feminine is used? Why the feminine term is used? Because here need to explain, the birth is given. Birth is given. So you naturally, birth is given by the feminine, not the man. But not all. Don't think all the feminines. Some animal, female animal don't give birth, but male give. Do you know that? Yes. Seahorse. This small, this nice, beautiful, the fish, like a fish. We Tibetan call fish. Tibetan call almost everything in the sea except the crocodile or the turtle. Rest of all is fish. There's a few things we may differentiate, or cockatiel, or the turtle, or the frog. We have different names, but the rest of all are fish. So this is also fish, but in English you call seahorse. But in strange thing, seahorse case, male seahorse keep the egg in the belly and give birth. That's very interesting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not important. So now here, the point is this. To explain this wisdom, wisdom. What's the Bhagavati Panchaparamita? That wisdom, which is called Panchaparamita. In the earlier we said perfection of wisdom. That perfection of wisdom is called Bhagavati because that perfection of wisdom gives birth. What that perfection of wisdom gives birth, it makes us Buddha. It makes us Buddha. From the unawakened, from the imperfection to make us perfection. So it's like giving birth. So therefore, perfection of wisdom is called Bhagavati. It is used feminine because perfection of wisdom make us fully awakened being. Fully awakened being. Make us Buddha. So in that sense, that wisdom, perfection of wisdom is called Bhagavati. Bhagavati. Because that perfection of wisdom destroys the ignorance and it possesses the wisdom. Bhagwan. Jong Den. Then Ma, feminine, to describe it gives birth as the Buddha. Bhagavati. Bhagavati. Then Panya Paramita. Par. That if you cut it, that term. Par, Nya, Para, Mita. If you cut it, that long word, say Par, Nya, Par, Mita. There are four. It's long term. Par in Sanskrit, I must say this. I'm saying these things, not I am expert in Sanskrit. I am not. I haven't done any Sanskrit lessons. I've just learned from other people, listening, so on and so forth. So I'm not expert, but I know the Tibetan equivalents, and then I've learned from other people, and that's why I'm describing. But I'm not expert in Sanskrit, okay? So, par, that literally is, or in other words, emphasize. The word following word, nya, par nya, the J-N-A, that word, which is nya means wisdom, that, the par, that word emphasized the coming word, or make stronger. In other words, stress, make stress. In other I'm sure you have some in German, stress. So make what stress that was. This wisdom is something unique wisdom. That's why the par, nya is the wisdom. And now I should look at my notes. Para means, para. Now, para, do you remember earlier I said beyond, or the other side of the shore, other side. Para. So the third one. And mita means, which has arrived on the other shore, other side, or that which goes to the other side. So mita means either arrived, in this case the Buddha, or take us to the other side, it is our wisdom. So panya para mita. So Arya Bhagavati panya paramita. Hridaya is the mean essence or the heart, which we said earlier, and the sutra, which we already talked about. Okay, so that's the title so far we have looked at. Now is the Panya Paramita. here. Lunchtime.